What can the Browns do to help him this week to try to, not put himself in those situations?
Well, it has to be a point of emphasis this week, and what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to have some outlet passes. They're going to have some short opportunities for him to make sure that he feels comfortable checking it down, or he's going to have to throw it away or do whatever he has to do. He cannot be taking those big, long, negative plays and retreating, and that was just it's. In the heat of the moment, you revert to old habits. And that's what he was doing there. It's the thing that they've been trying to get out of him since he showed up on the doorstep here.
The story about Shedeur Sanders' first game in the NFL is changing a lot. And what is coming out now is a very different tale from what social media trolls and Haddock artists said just after the game. Cedric Tillman, the Cleveland Browns starting wide receiver, who played alongside Sanders on the field, just said something that is making waves in the NFL. His defense of Sanders and joy about playing alongside him show how far from what really transpired on the field was from what spectators thought they saw from their sofas. Skip Bayless has been attentively studying Sanders' career and knows more about the subtleties of quarterback play than most people. Just gave an incredibly detailed analysis that shows exactly why Sanders had trouble and why anyone who writes him out after one game is making a huge mistake. You can tell who Browns supporters really want to run their offense just by watching the video of their response when Sanders came into the game. This isn't just damage control or a spin. This is the truth finally coming through the noise, and what it says about Sanders' future in Cleveland is huge. Let's start with what Cedric Tillman said, because he was on the field with Sanders, caught passes from him, and experienced personally what the young quarterback was going through. When Tillman was asked how excited he was to play with Shedeur Sanders for the first time, his answer was very revealing. He said right away that playing with Sanders throughout the game was the first time they had ever played together. Read that again. Cedric Tillman, the Browns' starting wide receiver, and Sanders threw and received passes for the first time during a real NFL game against the Baltimore Ravens' great defense. Not in practice, not in walkthroughs, not in any preparation sessions during the week, and not even during the game itself when everything was on the line against one of the best defenses in football. Tillman didn't blame Sanders or make excuses for how he played. He didn't say anything about Sanders being a competitor, but he did talk about watching him work and prepare every day and seeing how dedicated and professional he was in practice, even though he wasn't getting first-team repetitions. Tillman said it was fun to be out there with Sanders and see him compete. He can't wait to play with him again. It's a major deal that a starting receiver who knows what he needs from his quarterback would say that. Tillman isn't just being nice or following the rules. He is really looking forward to playing with Sanders once they can train together and have the timing and chemistry that are so important for the offense to work. Tillman didn't hesitate when asked directly if having first-team reps would assist Sanders. He noted that getting reps with the ones is definitely crucial and that they'll just have to wait and see how the week unfolds. That's a polite way of saying something everyone already knows. If a backup quarterback hasn't practiced with the starting offense all season, you can't expect him to do well. There won't be enough time. There won't be any chemistry, the trust and understanding that lets receivers and quarterbacks know what each other will do and make plays in tight spaces. Without repetition, none of that is real. In reality, Tillman is just agreeing with what Tony Rizzo and others have been saying all week. The Browns didn't get Sanders ready, so they put him up to fail. And now that the players who really matter are backing him up, the story is starting to change. Skip Biz completely crushed the lazy takes and passionate opinions that filled social media after Sanders made his first appearance, and his analysis shows a lot about what really happened and what people think happened. Skip began by saying that, certainly, the stats do look bad at first glance. 4 completions out of 16 attempts, and a quarterback rating of 3 on a scale of 0 to 100 make it look like a complete disaster on paper. People who didn't like him were all over the internet saying that they told everyone Sanders wasn't ready, that he was overrated, and that his drop on draft day was deserved. But Skip, who really knows how quarterbacks play and what they're going through, strongly disagree with that simple story. Skip pointed up numerous important pieces of information that make you look at Sanders' performance in a whole new way. First, he was put in the game at halfway against a Baltimore defense that had just gotten healthy and was playing at an outstanding level. Sanders couldn't ease into the game against a weak or struggling defense. This defense was good enough to win a title, but they really needed to win to stay in the division fight with Pittsburgh. They were ready, motivated, and hungry, and they brought strange blitz packages and hidden coverages that were meant to confuse and pressure rookie quarterbacks. That's about as tough as it gets to make your NFL debut. Second, and this can't be stressed enough, Sanders didn't get any snaps with the starters in practice. No, he had been sitting behind Dylan Gabriel all season, and before that behind Joe Flacco, so he never got to practice with the first-team offense in a significant way. So when he comes into the game, he's following a plan that was made just for Dylan Gabriel's talents and habits. None of the plays were made with Sanders in mind. None of the protection plans took into account how he played. None of the basic ideas were based on making the most of his skills. He was literally trying to run someone else's game plan on the fly against a top-notch defense without having practiced any of it with the players he was throwing to. Third, and this is very important, the Browns lost their left tackle, Cam Robinson, near the end of the first half. So Sanders goes into the game without his blindside protector, which is the most vital position on the offensive line for a right-handed quarterback. He keeps getting hit from behind, so he never feels safe or comfortable in the pocket. He's always afraid about getting hit from angles he can't see. That's a total nightmare for a young quarterback making his first start. It makes everything 10 times worse. It's hard to go through your progressions when you're worried about getting hit from behind on every play. Skip saw the film and explained what really happened on Sanders' drives, and his analysis shows that the figures on the surface tell a very different tale. Sanders threw his first 2 passes perfectly, exhibiting calmness and accuracy right away. And then he had a hard time for a while as the Ravens turned up the pressure and used strange coverages. This is precisely what you'd expect from a rookie who wasn't ready for his first game, but then came the last drive. And this is when Skip noticed something special that makes him hopeful about Sanders' future. Sanders got the ball back with time running out, and his clutch element, which has defined his whole career, surfaced right away. Skip said that the throw to rookie Harold Fenton Jr. was fantastic and had juice on it. It was better than anything he's seen from Dylan Gabriel all year. That's a big deal, coming from someone who has meticulously followed every Browns game. Sanders then had to deal with 3rd and 10 and threw to Jerry Jeudy, who he had never practiced with before. And Jeudy fought for the first down, which shows that he has a competitive mentality that makes it seem like he loves playing for Sanders. Much though they didn't have a good relationship, Jeudy may have gotten hurt on that play because he didn't do anything after that, which made Sanders' alternatives much harder. Skip adds that Sanders' mobility is not fully appreciated. He ran for 5 yards and proved that he can move in the pocket and keep plays going when protection falls down. Then there were the 2 tosses into the end zone that everyone criticized without knowing what was going on. Sanders broke the pocket on the left side and had a rusher right in his face. So he had to make a fall-away ball to Isaiah Bond, a rookie out of Texas who wasn't drafted. They weren't on the same page because they had never rehearsed together, and Sanders missed him by a few yards. But Skip didn't mind the pass because it was either a receiver or no one at all. The kind of aggressive play you have to make when you're down a touchdown late in the game and the coverage is good. The 3rd down toss from the 25-yard line went to Gage Larvadine, a rookie free agent from South Carolina who wasn't drafted. Skip said he didn't even know who this player was and couldn't recall him from watching South Carolina games last year. At this point, Jerry Jeudy was suddenly missing from the game. He may have been hurt, which left Sanders throwing to receivers he had never worked with and who had very little NFL experience. Skip, on the other hand, enjoyed the throw. He said it was exactly on the button and struck Larvadine neatly in the end zone. Isaac Yadam, a former Dallas Cowboys defensive back, put his hand in there at the last second. Skip, on the other hand, thought Larvadine should have kept the ball because he had both hands on it. If that pass is caught, the whole discourse changes since the score is now 23-23, and the game might go into overtime. The 4th down play that finished the game showed yet another way that everything went wrong for Sanders, even though he didn't do anything wrong. On 4th and 5, the Ravens obviously stepped offside on the left side of the line. His illegal leap on the snap led them compress the pocket before Sanders could do anything. There was no flag, though, and Sanders was stuck in the water, having to make a desperate sidearm throw to Davidu in the flat that missed. But the game is over. Skip's main point, though, is that even though there was a lot of chaos, no preparation, injuries, a great defense, and missed calls on offsides, Sanders showed enough flashes of brilliance on that last drive to make him feel good about what he can become with the right support. What Skip thinks is most important for Sanders right now. He remarked that in the end, what he saw gave him hope, and he hopes Dylan Gabriel stays in concussion protocol, not because he wants anyone to get hurt, but because it would give Sanders a full week of real starter practice reps to get ready for the game in Las Vegas. Then we can really see what Sanders can do when he has a fair chance, like when he practices with the first-team offense, when the game plan is made to fit his talents, and when he has good chemistry with his receivers. That's the only way to really tell if Sanders can be the answer for Cleveland at QB. It's neither fair or honest to judge him based on a first performance that was set up to fail. You can tell who Browns supporters really want to run their offense by how they reacted when Sanders came into the game. The NFL published video of the moment Sanders ran onto the field and the crowd went crazy. The cheers were so loud that they hurt. The energy was electric, and you could feel the enthusiasm and hope in the air in the stadium. These fans have been chanting Sanders' name for weeks, booing Dylan Gabriel without mercy and clamoring for a new quarterback. When they eventually got it, they were overjoyed and excited. That fan base hasn't given up on Sanders after just one bad game. That fan base believes in his abilities and really wants him to do well with the right training and help. It's becoming clearer and more of a concern that Kevin Stefanski and Browns fans desire different things. Stefanski has made it plain via what he has said and done that he wants Dylan Gabriel to be the starting quarterback. even if there is a lot of evidence that the young quarterback isn't ready or able to manage a winning offense, he's still dedicated to Gabriel. At the same time, the fans have made it obvious that they want Shedeur Sanders. They have faith in his skills. They're enthused about his potential, but they're also very angry about how the coaching staff has treated and trained him. This isn't a small disagreement. This is a basic conflict between the organization's vision and what fans want, which is causing a lot of stress and strain. The Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, now has to make a very important choice that will shape the future of the team. Does he agree with Stefanski and keep supporting Dylan Gabriel even if people are getting angry and there is more and more proof that it isn't working? Or does he understand that the fans have made it obvious that they want Sanders, that players like Cedric Tillman are looking forward to playing with him, and that the coaching staff's evaluation may not be accurate? Haslam has demonstrated that he is prepared to take risks and isn't scared to go against his football guys when he thinks they are wrong. This could be one of those times. This issue has effects that go much beyond just one game or one quarterback controversy. This is about how your organization thinks, how you train young players, and whether you're really devoted to helping individuals thrive or just hope things work out. The way the Browns handled Sanders' debut showed that there were problems with the way they do business. The backup quarterback didn't get any practice time with the first team, not being able to modify game plans in the middle of a game when things change, the fact that quarterbacks and receivers didn't create chemistry over the course of the season, injuries to important offensive linemen without good backup plans. All of these concerns are problems with the organization that have nothing to do with how well any one player is doing. Cedric Tillman's excitement about playing with Sanders once they start practicing together is a good sign, since it shows that the players trust in Sanders' skills, even if the coaches aren't totally committed to helping him improve. When your starting wide receivers say in public that they're excited to play with the backup quarterback, talk about how hard he works and how professional he is, and defend him after a rough first game, it shows you how the other players feel about Sanders in the locker room. The guys think he's unique, and they want to show what they can do together when they have the time to get ready. The fact that Skip compared Sanders' greatest throw on that last drive to anything Dylan Gabriel has done all season is terrible for Gabriel and very important for figuring out how good Sanders can be. This season, Skip Biss has been paying careful attention to every Browns game. He has watched all of Gabriel's throws, seen all of his problems, and remarked that Sanders' 25-yard connection to Harold Fannin Jr. was better than anything Gabriel has done all year. That's a big deal. That's Skip Satan. That even though Sanders had a terrible first game without any preparation, he showed more arm talent and throw quality than Gabriel has exhibited in months of starting. This is the kind of skill assessment that should get Browns decision makers' attention. Another sign of how poorly this scenario was handled is that Sanders had to throw to undrafted rookie free agents at important times since Jerry Jeudy was unexpectedly absent when Sanders needed Jeudy the most. Where was he? If he was hurt, why wasn't there a clear backup plan for who Sanders should go after? If he wasn't hurt, why wasn't he on the field when the game was at its most important point? Stefanski needs to address these questions on coaching and running the game. And the fact that Sanders had to throw to receivers he didn't know in the most important parts of his first game shows a lack of organization. The fact that the last fourth down play wasn't ruled offside is simply one more sign that Sanders' first game didn't go well. The Ravens certainly leapt early and should have been punished, which would have given Sanders another shot. But the officials missed the call, and the game ended with a throw that had no chance. Sanders didn't get a single break or lucky bounce throughout his first game. Football is a game of inches and moments. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. But he almost made a spectacular return that would have dramatically transformed the story. That ability to keep going and fight through terrible times says a lot about Sanders' mental fortitude and competitiveness. If Sanders gets a full week of first-team practice reps before the possible start versus Las Vegas, everything will be different. He'll finally get the chance to work on his timing with Judy Tillman and the other starting receivers. To learn how to talk to and protect the offensive line better. Instead of making him run Gabriel's offense, the coaches may develop a game plan that plays to his skills. At the NFL level, the difference between being ready and being thrown into pandemonium without preparation is huge. And we'll soon find out how big it is if Sanders starts with real practice behind him. Having teammates like Tillman publicly defend him and say how excited they are to play with him has a huge effect on his mental health. Young quarterbacks need to feel like their offense is behind them and that their receivers and linemen trust in them and want to battle for them. Tillman's words are just the kind of support Sanders needs to build trust and faith in himself as he moves on from this tough start. Sanders doesn't feel alone or like he's being blamed. He knows his teammates are there for him and understand why he had a hard time. There has never been more pressure on Kevin Stefanski to deal with this problem the right way. Fans are begging Sanders to start. Players like Tillman are excited to play with Sanders, which is a good sign. He had analysts like Skip Biss looking at tape and showing that Sanders was really good even when things were going wrong. And the owner is asking questions about why the backup quarterback wasn't ready for the whole season. If Stefanski keeps insisting on Gabriel without allowing Sanders a real chance to prepare, he will lose the locker room, the fans, and maybe even his job. The best thing to do is to really commit to getting Sanders ready this week and see what he can do with real help. The NFL world is paying close attention to this scenario because it means more than simply the quarterback controversy in Cleveland. This is about whether companies learn from their mistakes, change when they need to, and are willing to say when their first assessments might have been wrong. Sanders was a highly sought-after player who slid in the selection because of concerns about his character and problems during interviews, but no one ever doubted his abilities. Now he has an opportunity to show that the skill is real and the worries were exaggerated. This chance will be a test of how well the Browns run their business. The video of Brown supporters going crazy when Sanders came into the game is remarkable because it displays real energy and hope that has been missing from that stadium for weeks. These supporters have had to deal with bad quarterbacks for decades. They've seen a lot of prospects fail and their team waste talented rosters because they couldn't find a good quarterback. For a moment, when Sanders jogged onto the field, those fans thought something amazing would happen. Even if the first show went badly, that hope didn't die. Fans want him to give it a fair chance with the right preparation, even more now that they know why he has trouble. Cedric Tillman's opinion about Sanders being a hardworking competitor who prepares well is important, since it answers one of the key complaints that people had about Sanders during the draft process. Scouts who didn't give their names questioned his work ethic, his capacity to be coached, and his willingness to do the work needed to get ready. But Tillman, who sees Sanders every day in meetings and practice, says those worries are absolutely unjustified. Sanders puts up a lot of effort. He gets ready for work in a professional way. He competes at a very high level. The character issues that caused him to fall in the draft seem to have been either blown out of proportion or completely inaccurate. And having teammates testify for his professionalism means a lot more than rumors about him before the draft. Shedeur Sanders did enough in his first game, even though it was a mess and he wasn't ready, to deserve a meaningful chance going forward. Skip Biz saw it on the screen. Cedric Tillman observes it in action. Browns fans recognize the potential and are calling for him to get a serious shot. The coaching staff and their steadfast support for Dillon Gabriel, even though there is a lot of evidence that change is needed, are the only ones who don't seem to want to provide Sanders the right training and assistance. There comes a time when pride in the organization has to take a back seat to what works best for winning football games. The Cleveland Browns are at a point when they have to make a decision that will shape the next few years of the team. They can keep going the way they are, stubbornly sticking with Dillon Gabriel, not developing Shedeur Sanders correctly, and seeing their season go worse and worse. Or they can admit they were wrong, really commit to getting Sanders ready, give him a real chance to show what he can do with help, and maybe find out they have a franchise quarterback who was sitting on the bench the whole time. Everyone else seems to know what to do, but the folks who are making the decisions don't. That lack of connection is the most annoying part of this whole thing. If Cedric Tillman's strong defense of Shedeur Sanders and Skip Biz's devastating explanation of what really transpired during that debut open your eyes to the truth, you need to press that like button right now and tell me in the comments. This is the kind of honest, context-based analysis that cuts through the noise and shows you what's really going on instead of what lazy hot takes want you to think. Please tell us what you think about whether Sanders should start against the Raiders, whether Stefanski is making a big mistake by not completely committing to him, and what you believe will happen if Sanders receives the right amount of first-team practice this week. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and activate on notifications. We're going to be following this quarterback issue every day and giving you every update, insider report, and development as this choice, which may change the course of the club, plays out. The truth about Shedeur Sanders is now coming out, and you won't want to miss a single second of this drama as it develops. Keep asking this group for more. Until next time, keep helping these young guys who deserve a fair chance. And let's see if the Browns finally do the right thing for once.